Hey there, Collabcast listeners. This is Captain Dave Jackson coming to you from sunny Hendersonville, Tennessee, part of Nashville. I cannot tell you how excited I am to have a good friend of mine, Greg Hogan from the good state of New York, coming to us on our Collabcast issue. Greg, welcome to our podcast.
Thanks, Dave. I'm really happy to be here.
Appreciate you having you on with us today. Let me get situated here. This is like live TV, right? Everything's raw and natural. So, Greg, I just want to let our listeners know a little bit about you, who Greg is, who we'll get to the boring insurance, unsexy stuff in a minute. But a little bit about your agency and your operation there. And first off, so Middletown, New York. Tell us where Middletown is. I honestly don't know.
It's 90 minutes northwest of New York City. If you look on a map where New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania come together, we're a little bit inside of New York from that point.
Are you close to Albany?
No, Albany is about not quite a 2-hour drive from here, straight over and then up.
What's the biggest big city near you? Biggest one?
New York City and Albany. New York City is actually a little bit closer to me than Albany,
okay.
but yeah, there's no big city. I mean, our town is like 27,000. We're surrounded immediately in a 5-mile radius by another 27,000. So not a huge area, but growing. We have a lot of New York City transplants, Long Island transplants, and commuters.
Are you close to Massachusetts border?
No, we're complete opposite of New York State from the Mass border. The Mass border, because the Mass border is really close to Albany.
Gotcha.
You know, it's Albany's on the far eastern side of New York, and I'm really kind of in the I don't want to say western New York, but I'm in the western section of lower New York.
I gotcha. Okay, so you're closer to Pennsylvania, maybe.
Really, it's about 15 miles away to the Pennsylvania border.
Oh, okay. I need to learn my geography better. Okay, I know where you are now. So I could throw out all kinds of towns. People are going to look it up if they need to. So Middletown. Did you grow up in New York?
I grew up in New York. I was actually born in Vermont, and we moved here when I was, 3 or 4, something like that. But I grew up, went to school, grew up right here in this town, went away to college, worked out of the area for 2 years, but I've been back working within 6-8 minutes of my house since 1990.
Oh, wow.
All on the retail insurance side.
Okay, so well entrenched in your community.
Yeah.
Very cool. So tell us about your family situation. Yeah, I know you have a wife. Any kids?
Yeah, I have a wife who's actually come to Innovation in the last 2 years. We've been married for over 27 years now. We celebrated our 27th anniversary this past April.
Congrats.
And thank you. We have 2 boys. One is 25, and he's a management consultant down in the DC area. I mean, that's his home office location, but he bounces all over. And my younger son just graduated Syracuse University with his master's in 4 years. And he's going to be relocating, it looks like, to the Atlanta area.
Okay, very cool. So I think I know the answer to this one, but I'll get your viewpoint. Either of your 2 boys give any consideration to following you into the insurance industry?
No. My younger son with his master's degree is going to be working in the data analytics field, and he is starting his career with an insurance company. But at this point, nobody is coming up behind me to take over. So anyone listening, in like 5 years, hit me up. I'll be looking for a
I might be looking for a successor, huh? That's funny. Same with me. I have a boy and a girl. My older is my son. He's an engineer. My daughter is a doctor. So like nowhere close to the insurance world. So, and that's okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
I get hit up weekly. In fact, today, people, larger organizations want us to buy us because, we're fairly public with a few national awards that we can talk about later if you want.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. All right, very good. So, insurance career, a long, long time. Do you remember your very first day in the insurance industry? Who
On
was
the
that
retail
with,
side,
and what'd you do?
well,
Insurance
so
altogether.
yeah, well, I spent 2 years as a programmer at an insurance company home office,
Okay.
and that was pretty interesting because you walk into this organization. This is late '80s. It's all suits and ties and all very prim and proper.
I remember. Yep.
Um, and they just gave me a cubicle and they gave me a computer and they said someone will be by to start showing you what to do.
Okay, late
And
80s
yeah,
computers were like barely on the scene.
yeah, it was '88, and we still used floppy disks.
Yep.
And after a little while, what I was actually charged with writing was a bridge program to take uploaded data from the early version of TAM, or what they call DOS TAM,
Yep.
and massage that data into the home office's mainframe COBOL legacy spaghetti coded system. That's
There's
so that's
there's
that's
a
what I did.
there's a lot of millennials listening to this right now that are like, "Huh? What are you
No
talking
idea.
about?" Yeah.
No idea.
No idea.
Yeah. No idea.
I'm back. I've been around this business long enough. I remember 10 punch key cards. It's just before, data entry started. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I never used key cards, even in college. Never. I think I missed key cards by like one semester,
But you use a
literally.
radar wheel, right?
Oh yeah, sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Kids
Yeah.
don't know
Well,
that
that's what I
anymore.
was. That's what I was programming, was this
Mm,
massager to take all those rating factors from the
yeah.
company when they put all these codes in, and we were taking that rating book and programming that thing. I mean, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah. So I presume you work from a rate manual, rate sheets by territory, by
Oh
zip code,
yeah,
by every
just
factor you can imagine,
yeah.
coverage
Yeah,
limit,
just
all that.
tables. I didn't do the tables. Somebody else was doing the tables. I was just taking the pick fields. It's a COBOL thing. I was just massaging and lining up the data fields, but I wasn't the one responsible for figuring out what data was going to go where. I just had the fields and had to make everything talk to each other.
Talk to each other. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, would you say you stumbled into the insurance industry? It wasn't by design?
Oh yeah, definitely stumbled into it. I mean, when I first got the job as a programmer, I was looking for programming work. It wasn't
Mm,
when I went to that insurance company. It wasn't a matter of I was going into insurance. I was going into programming.
right.
And then after a couple years there, I was ready to leave there and go somewhere else. And that is when I stumbled literally into the retail insurance world, where someone who was an agent took my resume, gave it to someone else who was a life and health agent, big life agent for Prudential. And I was basically back office support for high dollar, 6-figure life insurance cases, second to die, buy sell, crazy stuff.
Okay. So, how long did you do that with Prudential?
Um,
Did you become an
I
agent ever?
Yes, I was licensed as an agent. I was I mean, for a long time, I was kind of like a co-agent with this person, really supporting them because they were leading the country in production. And then
Wow.
I was an agent by myself for a little while, but quickly then joined where my wife worked. I joined a PNC agency as a producer, immediately got licensed for PNC, kept the life and health license, and that was '97, and that's when it really took off.
Okay. So, it sounds like a big Prudential producer. You had a seriously good mentor.
Yeah, I mean, he dealt with a lot of big cases, a lot of referrals. He knew everybody, and we did a lot of big crazy cases. Was he a great mentor? In some ways? Not that time in life insurance was a little funny.
Yeah.
With overstated dividends and the like, and certainly
Right.
the cases he worked on was caught up in that.
Right. Yeah.
So from that
Those.
respect, no.
Yeah. Those were the times. Interest
Yeah.
rates were, paying multiple double digits, 18% on up, and yeah,
Overstated. It was a mess.
way. So underfunded. Um, in many cases. So yeah, that's a cool beginning because you don't see a lot of life health guys transition over to the PNC side. So you go PNC. Is that with Hutchings?
Yes.
Okay, and
Yes.
there you're a producer. So
Yep.
did you? So at this stage, you're not on your own yet, but
Right.
in your current agency is Curaba.
Curraba
Is
Agency,
that how you say
correct.
it? Where does that
Yep.
name come from? That was my first curiosity.
So I was with Hutchings for a lot of years, from '97, and my wife worked there, and she stopped working shortly before our first son was born. Um, and she stayed to be, she then basically retired from insurance. I still make her keep her license, but she's retired. But
Mm-hmm.
I was with Hutchings until until 2000, and I bought Curraba in 2015, I think it was, and I formally officially left Hutchings in early 2017.
Oh, okay. So Curaba
So I
was
was,
existing.
yeah, Curraba had been existing. The name actually was Curraba Francisco Agency. I just dropped it down to Curraba because that's what everybody always said.
Mm-hmm.
That's our DBA, but I have a corporate name that holds a couple DBAs.
Okay, very cool. So
And I want to give
go ahead.
you asked about a mentor real quick. I want to give just a quick shout out
For
in
sure.
case he listens to the podcast. I did have a very good mentor with Doug Hutchings at Hutchings Agency, and he really gave me a good, strong, very strong foundation and a good, strong start to my career. And he knows, I've said it to him before, I owe him a debt of gratitude.
Oh, that's cool. Nice to acknowledge those that have helped us along the way. We all have needed help for sure. Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
So was it a shock for you to come into the PNC side of the world?
Um, it was different. It was just different. I
Mm-hmm.
had a lot of contacts because I had group health. The agent that I had worked with basically was forced to retire due to disability. So I was able to take some of his cases, turn them into mine. I mean, not a lot of them, but a few of them, and then turn some of them into PNC clients, and then just whatever, it just happens. It just grows. But it's certainly a PNC is a much different world than life and health.
Yeah, night and day. So tell us a little bit about your current agency. What's Caraba look like? Premium revenue, premium dollars, revenue dollars, number of employees, locations,
We
mix of
presently have
business.
two locations.
Okay.
We have two locations. I bought the agency in April of 15. Um, I purchased a second agency in October of 19 that we just folded straight into here. We didn't take any of their employees. We didn't take any of their anything. We didn't keep their name. We didn't keep their phone number. We just folded them straight in as a pure revenue play because that person was retiring and leaving the agency or
Right.
leaving the insurance world. So we did that, and that worked out just fine. And then most recently in September of 21, we purchased our third agency, and that was called Reineke Agency. And we've that was sort of the name. We made that our DBA, and that remains as a standalone, as a separate location,
Mm-hmm.
because that agency has a different culture and just a different clientele completely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Curaba clientele is a lot of group health, a lot of personal, some commercial. Reineke Agency is almost entirely personal, quite a bit of it. I guess you would call it substandard, although I don't really like that phrase
Right.
because I don't think people are substandard.
Right.
It's mostly a Hispanic clientele over there.
Okay.
So we do have a bilingual person.
And that's in the same town or same area.
Same town, about a mile away, and we
Oh,
recently refurbished that whole office and poured some money in because it's doing great, and it's doing great again this year.
cool.
Um, all in, I don't really, I know revenue numbers. I'll leave that alone. We're over $1 million. We probably have low 3 million of group benefits and 7 million, let's say, of
Mm-hmm.
PNC premium.
Okay. And your
So
PNC is split between personal and commercial. How much?
Yeah, it's most at this point because of the agencies we've acquired, we've pushed more to personal. We're probably on the PNC revenue side. It's definitely at least 2/3 personal. Might be a little bit more than that.
Okay, 70
Probably
30-ish.
probably more than that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would guess.
That's a very, very common split. I see it a lot in agencies. 70% personal lines, 30% commercial lines. And you probably don't, maybe dabble in a little bit of middle market commercial, but not a ton. Uh,
Not a ton, not a ton. I mean, certainly some, and certainly some for, well, not really middle market. One or two what you would call middle market for health cases, but
mm,
definitely some on the PNC side. Yeah, but
mm-hmm.
not a ton.
Do you work in any kind of niches or classes on the commercial side that you like?
Um, we write hundreds of property investors. If you want to carve out and say we have a niche on the commercial side,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew you were going to ask that. So I really gave it a thought. Investors, property investors, landlord packages, that kind of stuff. We probably write 500 or so of those people. So,
Wow.
not a huge chunk, but certainly it's something that we carve out. Um, it's hard to say. We
Yeah.
just write a bunch, and not any specific area.
Okay. How many employees total?
Between the two locations, let's see. I have a part timer who's fully remote. I have four other people who are full time, and I have one vacancy that we're working on filling.
Okay. So out of all those, just the one remote person.
Yeah, I mean, my people, two of my people at this point work a hybrid schedule where they're home a couple days a week, work in the office a little bit. I have two people that are in the office full time every day, and I have one person just doing some admin stuff who, it doesn't really pay for them to come in the office, so we just let her stay home.
Okay. How much time do you spend in the office yourself?
Me, I'm here quite a bit. Doing admin stuff, meeting with clients. Um, I'd say I'm in the office generally at least 7 hours a day.
Okay. Very cool. How did COVID affect your structure? I mean, at some point, I know New York was an early hotbed, but at some point you had to all go remote. How long did that last?
Um, I think it was that first March 13 or 15. That Friday, I said, take your computers home. Everybody took their machines home. Our database was already, I don't want to say it was in the cloud, but we could, once they had their computers home, everybody could access it easily. We had voice over IP phones, so that worked
Mm-hmm.
out fine. So we were fired up for working remote on that first Monday when basically the whole country shut down.
Right.
Um, I came into the office still every single day
Oh, okay.
because I don't have at my home, I just don't have a dedicated workspace. Both kids eventually were home. My older son was working, so he was using my conference room as his office anyway, um, after he graduated. But all my people were remote until uh, about mid-July of that year, and then we started coming in a little bit, working a hybrid. Um, but traffic to the door is still in our main office is still kind of slow, and that's okay. Everybody
Yeah.
got used to working from home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my people loved it, and I think they all did pretty well working from home. So, I mean, it was a bit of a hassle for all of us, but um, we just kept working every day. And for the people that had to drop stuff off, that was me. I was here in the
Mm-hmm.
office. I was taking the mail. I was scanning the mail. I mean, I was doing a lot of admin work, but I didn't have anyone else here to do it.
Right.
So that's what you got to do
It was
sometimes.
definitely adjustment for sure. Did you have any pushback when it was time to come back? You just like to rather stay at home?
Yeah, I mean, listen, some people like working from home more than being in the office, and I think it's fair that you're always going to get some pushback. Um, but at some point we have to all get back in full time, and I think we're going to get to that.
Okay, very cool. So, a couple other things. I noticed in your LinkedIn profile that you've been involved in the Big I board in your state of New York. So, explain to our listeners why it's important to get involved in your industry associations.
So that was a position a long time ago where I was just a director of the local chapter, never on the state stuff, never and anything massive. But I think it's important to be involved in the associations because the associations really work for us. The associations provide education at a discount and good education. They provide various advocacy and lobbying efforts. And one of the reason that I'm an S corp, but one of the reason that all the pass-through businesses, the LLCs and the S corps, are getting the tax treatment we're getting is because of the advocacy of the Big I and perhaps PIA. I'm less involved with PIA, but I am a member of both. And I think you really need to support the associations because they're out there doing the heavy lifting for us when it comes to the legal issues and government, regulatory issues. Groups like IAOA are certainly have that, that camaraderie aspect and the selflessness aspect, but the associations have that real CE, they have other member benefits, and they have, I think the biggest thing is the advocacy and regulatory help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, they've been involved in that end of it for so many years that
Right.
they're entrenched. So they have, the relationships, they have the influence, they have all of that that benefits us. And I'm not so sure today's younger generation in our industry recognizes that as much as they should. I don't know. What's your thought?
I don't think they recognize that at all. I don't know that they really recognize that others have come before them and have really fought various items or various situations. I mean, they probably don't know that independent agent companies bailed out Geico many
Yep.
years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know, 28 or 25, whatever it was, might have been more.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they don't recognize that there's been a whole bunch of companies that have gone before them and agents that have gone before them that have really, really done the hard work. And we still see a lot of agents, and I'm not knocking anybody, please, don't take it that way, but we see a lot of agents who want to only work to sell cases and put cases on the books, but then they want to outsource all the service, or they want to have only remote, so people can't come
Mm-hmm.
in to see their agent face to face. We welcome people coming in to see us face to face. We have written so much business, particularly in the last year, of people saying, "I just want an agent.
Right.
I just want to see somebody."
Right.
And I think a lot of young agents, I don't mean young by age, I mean young by tenure,
Mm-hmm.
may not grasp that concept so well. And if it works for them to work fully remote, God bless them. But
Right.
I know the way we work is how we like to go.
Yeah. It's no different than when I get on the phone, I need service, I have to call 800 number. I just want a human, all the options you just gave me, my situation doesn't fit. And there's no zero for operators. So I just want a human. It's the same kind of thing, sometimes and many times it's only a human that can help you. The automation or the technology just can't do the job. It could do some things, we all use technology in our agencies, but it can help us. But the human aspect is always going to be there. You and I have been around this industry long enough. Oh, we're all going to be out of a job. Technology is going to replace us, especially now with AI. That's going to replace us. And how many years have you heard that? Your whole career, probably.
Whole career,
Yeah,
100%.
whole career. And you and I are still here. So is it going to happen in 50 years? I don't know. I won't be around to know that. But in 25 years, 10 years, who knows? But I certainly wouldn't throw up the white flag and say, "Yep, we're all going away," because
Yeah,
that's not going to
I
happen.
don't, I just don't, I don't see it. I don't see it. I mean, so much of what we've written this year has come from direct writers where the policies are written wrong, the limits are wrong, and
Mm-hmm.
people just don't know what they don't know. I mean,
Mm-mm.
I don't diagnose and fix my own car by watching YouTube. I take it to someone who knows how to fix it. And yet, people are conditioned by all the various advertising to think that an auto policy is an auto policy,
They're all the same.
and they just go buy something.
Yeah.
That's just not true.
No, that's not how it works. So a couple things I want to touch on. Here we are in the middle of what's called a hard market. For those of you out there that don't know, in a hard market, things happen like carriers reduce their writing of business, sometimes in certain areas, sometimes in certain lines of coverage or types of coverage, and they adjust rates to levels that nobody's heard of or seen before. What's it like? What's it like in state of New York? And is your area any different than the state right now in this hard market?
Listen, we're having a tough go of it like everybody else. We're seeing increases averaging 15 to 20%, which, I know the folks in Florida and now California and others, that would be amazing for them to have only that level.
Yeah.
But
I
we're
hear
really
50
starting
and
to
100%.
Yeah. And we're starting to see that. I've noticed an uptick in people calling about remarketing their renewals just in the last couple of months. I think there were some of our regional carriers, and let's be really clear. And I've said this openly on the group a number of times. I do best in the state of New York with the regional carriers, the carriers that write in just New York or just a handful of states. And I urge everybody listening to seek out your regionals, because the regionals generally have a better pulse in your area than the national carriers. And one of my carriers hasn't had a rate increase yet.
Really?
And I mean, they're gonna.
Wow.
But we're noticing that more and more businesses going there. Not all of it, of course, but businesses going there. So I do think that my agent friends that are along the coast in Long Island, lower New York, but pretty much Long Island, I'm talking about, they're having a little bit of a tougher go of it because of the coastal aspect. I recently had a case in not on Long Island, but it was in an area you don't think of as coastal. It was like 10 miles from the coast, and the carrier didn't want to write it, saying that it was somewhat coastal because they were between the Hudson River and something else. I don't know what it was, but they just had it's just getting a little tougher in that respect. And I think the water coastal stuff is going to be much, much more. New York does not have the severe storms like you see in other parts of the country. We don't get these terrible hurricanes like Florida and Louisiana do. We don't have the wildfire exposure that you see in California and Colorado and wherever else it is. We don't get the hailstorms, and we don't get those extremes.
Right.
And I think that really helps us by and large. I mean, we did have a big snowstorm the end of 22 that put 5 feet of snow up in the Buffalo area, and that certainly caused a lot of claims. But that was also somewhat of an isolated event, and certainly not unexpected to get a lot of snow, particularly in that area.
Not in Buffalo.
So I think we're faring better than a lot of the country. Is my area faring better than much of the state? Hard to say.
Maybe.
I write mostly within 50 miles of my office.
Right.
There's so much business, I don't need to go all over the place.
So how is your agency adjusting to what you're seeing now?
We're being proactive on calling people and moving people around from carrier to carrier, and people are responding to that. So if we're trying to be ahead of them calling us, because we have a lot of people that have been with us for 15, 20, 25 years. All of the 3 agencies I purchased, Dave, are probably that have been around 70 years or better. All of them. Wow. One of them has been around for 125 years. So we have a lot of legacy customers that really are going to stick it out with us 20, 25 years. Our longest tenured client is closing in on 60 years with the agency.
Wow.
And that's the reputation. That's the service that we deliver. And I'm continuing what the agents before me that I purchased have built. And so if we keep reaching out to them and keep, telling them, hey, we already remarketed you and you just really need to stay where they are, most of them are pretty good with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what about new business? Are you seeing carriers clamp down on that? Even your regionals, they're saying, yeah, right now, new business is what we're
Definitely.
interested in, or we're interested in
Definitely.
a very restrictive way.
Yeah, they're definitely clamping down. We're getting inspected a lot more, harder inspections, kind of silly stuff that normally wouldn't matter. We had one, and we don't even know what happened with it, but we quoted one guy with his a Progressive case. Progressive, instead of declining it, they just issued a $30,000 premium for 6 months. That was kind of a nice way to tell us, hey, we don't want to write it.
Right.
We are seeing more tight underwriting. Yes.
Okay. How are you coping with that? Are you able to keep up on the new business side, even with these
Yeah,
restrictions?
we're still ahead. We're ahead. I mean, listen, every day we write stuff, every day we lose stuff. But overall for the year, we're definitely ahead. And we just keep plugging away. We recently had a little bit of a trouble with a case we wanted to write, and I went and got an exception because I thought we needed the exception to write it. So, we carry a pretty solid reputation with our companies. I don't ask for exceptions very often, but when I need one, I generally get it, and I certainly used that recently.
Yeah, because they respect you and know that if you're asking, it's for a good reason.
Yeah. We front end underwrite very heavily. We don't write everybody. We tell a lot of people no. We tell a lot of people no right out of the gate.
Is that because of
Just because
monoline, things like that?
it's just what we want to write. I mean, sometimes it's just a feeling. Sometimes I can just tell it's going to be too much work for what we're doing. We have certain industries that we just don't like and we don't want to write, so we turn them down when those calls come in. But it's just my people all have the green light to say yay or nay to anything they want to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone makes them feel uncomfortable, tell them no.
Right. That's a good message. I always give some of the younger, inexperienced folks, new in the business. You can't be everything to everyone. You just can't do it. Yeah, I realize, you're fighting hard to put bread and milk on the table for your family. I realize that. So it's hard to say, no, I can't help you, but you're going to be thankful you did it in the long run. There's no doubt about it. So talking about new folks getting into the industry, I tell people right now, yeah, we're in a hard market, but you know what? They don't know. If you're 1 year or less, they don't know what a easy market is. So this is all you know. So if you can make it in now in this atmosphere, you're golden, man. In a year or two, when this passes, because it always passes. We've had these before. As strict as or severe as we've seen now, maybe not. It's obviously geography, but depending on where you are, this could be the toughest. It's the toughest I've ever seen in a lot of places, in a lot of markets. Yeah. So it's. But if you're new in the business, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, and we're getting a lot of people who think they need to shop just because everyone is saying it's so bad and they need to shop. Yep. And we recently had a case where we showed them better coverage for a pretty fair amount of savings, and they were suspect. Wait a minute. I keep hearing how the market is so difficult, so difficult, so difficult, and you're coming in showing me a $1,500 savings. But it's because
in a hard market.
In a hard market. But they were with a direct writer with poor coverage that was expensive. And it's just education.
Right.
It's just education.
Number one, education. So what's your advice for the new folks, say 3 years and under, just getting into the business as an agency owner? What's your advice to them in this market?
Educate your customers. They don't know what they don't know. They don't know what they need to buy. Explain to them why they need to buy what they need to buy. Explain that to them. And you cannot write everybody, because the person who is calling you because they got an increase from XYZ is going to call somebody else next year when you give them an increase. So educate your people on the front end about coverage, but also educate your people that premiums go up, and over time they do go up. They're not generally not going to go down if you're written properly with a proper company from the beginning. The other thing I would say is just relax, right? It's all going to be okay. And we all get keyed up. We all have days. And I put up a post like that not too long ago, just because a bunch of weird things happen. Stuff happens.
Right.
Let it go.
Yep.
You'll be fine.
Don't react extreme one way or the other.
Yep.
I use that a lot. Just relax. It'll all go away in time, just like everything, and it'll normalize, as we call it.
If I could tell, customers the size of, clients we've lost over the years, I've, 6 or 7 times I've lost a client that was 20,000 revenue or more. That's a lot to take all at once, and you take a day, process it, and come back swinging the next day, and just everything will be better.
Yeah. So what I like to tell people, and when you say, I'll dive into it deeper. When you say just educate your customers, the education means explain to them what happens with their premium dollars. So many people will call in and say, it went up 15%, whatever. Never had a claim, don't have any tickets, never in an accident. My rate should never go up if I don't file any claims. You heard that? We've all heard it hundreds of times probably. So that's where you need to educate them. Let me explain to you, just paid, pick a number, $1,200 last year. Where did your $1,200 go? Let me explain to you. And look what's happening for you and me and everybody else in our neighborhood when it comes to repairing parts and, on car parts. And buying new parts, the labor it costs to replace them, and no different than groceries at the grocery store. It's how much more expensive now than it was just 2-3 years ago. Same thing in our industry. It's no different. For a while there, parts were hard to get. So,
Sure.
So was everything. You wanted to order something and it wasn't available. Obviously COVID had a big part to play in that. But, things are getting a little better back to normal, and so availability's better. But still, the cost is still there. The increased cost is still there. So that's what I think you're talking about. So expand on that for me.
Yeah, well, let me give you for instance. I had someone upset with their premium increase the other day. So I went back through the history, and I went back to 8 years. And because this person was talking about how his premium was going up and up and up, and I've never had any claims. Exactly what you just said. I went and looked at his premium for his home, same place, no changes, no additions. The premium went up over 8 years. It went up 30%, which I thought, taken over 8 years, that's not so bad.
No.
His dwelling limit went up 36%. So my comment to him was, has your premium really gone up? No, the cost per dollar of coverage actually went down.
Right.
What went up was the value of your home and what it would cost to rebuild it. Too many people want to underinsure their home by 50, 80, 100,000 or better because they want the premium savings today. When you're buying a policy, the premium is the thing they're focusing on. They're not thinking about the coverage. But when a claim comes in, now they want to talk about coverage. It's too late.
Yep.
And when I say educate people, that's the other thing we really do is we really try to talk about that and give them examples and say, are you sure you want to cut your coverage? And most of the time it's no, they don't. And I've had numerous people come to me complaining about premium. We examine the case. We make various changes to their premium. And one guy in particular called complaining about his coverage. And it was right after we had purchased his policy, he came as a purchase from one of the other agencies. We increased his premium by 20% because we fixed his coverage, and he was happy. He was happy to pay us more. He'd been complaining about paying $2,400. When we got done with him, he was paying $3,000, and he was happy about it because now he was covered right, and he understood why he was covered right. And I think that is the biggest thing. I'm in the middle of writing a book about that very thing.
Are you now?
Interesting. I am.
Cool. That's good for you. So the moral of the story is, if a human doesn't spend time explaining to this, they're never going to know. So it's not going to be technology that's going to take them through that. It's going to take a human being. So the beauty of it too, in a hard market, this is what I explained to all the new folks. Now, or at least those in the business a short while, now you're going to get a chance to talk to a lot more of your customers than you would in normal times. So what does that mean? Potential opportunities, all kinds of opportunities. You're going to have chances to cross-sell the household to other lines that they may now need that you didn't know because you just didn't spend the time to be proactive to talk to them every year. And they're going to get a chance to you're going to get a chance to earn their trust even more, because now you're talking to them, you're having a consultative conversation and explaining to them, your coverages need help, or we're in great shape right where you are, and we just need to weather this storm. And you have the conversation, you know how it goes. So good time, good opportunity. And especially for those I tell them are a year or two under in this market, if you can make it through this market, you're going to have a totally green path ahead of you, because when this lifts and we get back to so-called on normal times, you're going to explode, and you're just going to say, that was easy, and now it's way easier, because you don't know the difference between a hard market and not. So, yeah.
Right. So, my first hard market I went through, I was that younger agent, and I wasn't super young in the business, but, 5-6 years. I think the last true hard market was probably 2003, 4. I don't know when. But I'd only been on the P&C side a handful of years at that point, and I didn't know it. I didn't even get it. And that was some of the best years I had of writing coverage.
Right. Yeah. So I also want to talk about IAOA. For those that are listening and don't know, this podcast is called Collabcast by IAOA. That stands for Insurance Agency Owners Alliance. Greg, you've been a member for a number of years of our group. So this group is for independent agency owners only. So no captive agents. You must be independent. That was the requirement when I founded the group 9 years ago. And you must have an ownership stake, principal, partner, owner in your agency. Anywhere in the U.S. and Canada. We don't have geography boundaries. We have some folks on other countries. Like in Africa, we have members from Australia and New Zealand, which is crazy to me, but somehow they find us, probably just searching. And we're a closed private book group on Facebook. When I first started, I knew like a handful. I'm serious, like 5 people. Added them to a Facebook group, independent agency owners only. Didn't grow very quick at first. Eventually, it started to move and grow, and today we just reached our 9,000 member mark. These are all owners of agencies. So it's not people who work in an agency as a staff member. It's not people from insurance companies. It's certainly not people from outside vendors or technology and other things. It's only independent. It's a very exclusive niche. You belong in it, and that's how you and I have come to know each other. So, you talked earlier about our associations, the Big I you were involved with, the PIA, Professional Insurance. These are large national, older associations that have been around a long time that benefit our industry. So, but they're more of the traditional format, I guess, where usually it's an association where you become a member and subscribe paying dues. And then you get all your educational benefits, your legislative benefits. You might get a magazine in the mail, those types of things. But in my case, or in our case, when I started IAOA, we are social media based. That kind of tripped a few people at first, especially 9 years ago. They're like, are you an associate? How much does it cost? And all these questions. And I said, no, we're not like that. We're none of that. So, from your standpoint, you've been a member a while. You've seen a lot of what goes on in our group, our closed private group. We have discussions about everything about operating an agency, everything you could imagine, anything from employees to carrier appointments and questions to claims to you name it. It's probably been asked. A lot of market access questions, market search, people looking for, I have this kind of risk, where do I insure it? So a lot of that things. And from your personal standpoint, it's free. There's no cost. You only just have to have a Facebook account, and you can join our group if you qualify. So how does our type of group fit in from your standpoint with those other associations that have been around a long time, with you and helping you run your agency?
Well, I certainly have a much more interaction in this group than I do with anybody in Big I or PIA because, we no longer have local meetings. When I was a director many, many years ago with that group, we would have a breakfast meeting, we would have a speaker, we would do whatever. There's none of that any longer on a local basis for us. I know PIA has, and that, some sort of a state, multi-state, meeting going on, or it was either a couple of weeks ago or it's coming up. I don't know it. But certainly the biggest difference between IAOA is it's every single day, you can log into the group and you can ask a question, you can make a comment, you can help someone else. I get an awful lot of offline requests. I get messages, I get emails, I get phone calls. Hey, could you help me with this? And, or people just say, you know what, I just want to give you a call to talk to you about something. And I've done that to people, just called them out of the blue and just said, hey, I saw what you said. I want to talk to you about it. So I think this group has given us a nationwide, a pulse on what's going on nationwide with the industry and with other agents. So that's one piece. The other piece is there's, lots of tech. I mean, there's, the large associations try to do that. But again, it's not the interaction that goes on in our group where every single day you can get information on an AMS, a CRM, any number of products. And we see questions every day. People ask about phone systems and ask about AMS every day. The biggest thing I see there is the help. Hey, how do I write this case, or what do I do here? What company for this? I always try to do my own research, and I always try to read my coverage forms. But still, you might read a coverage form and you might have a question about how a certain coverage form would respond or how a coverage works. And the group is helpful in there because none of us can know it all. None of us can know it all at all, and none of us do know it all. But collectively, I think we know more. And that's where it's a huge benefit because it's just a big, giant, marketplace, so to speak, where we all can exchange ideas and ask questions.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that viewpoint. I did an estimate here just earlier this year of collectively of our 9,000 plus members. We have over 35,000 years of insurance industry experience collectively. Where do you go find a resource like that? Number one, for free. Number two, where you can ask your question, where no question is dumb, and you can get an answer in what? A second sometimes? Minutes? Like an hour is a long time in social media world. So you get your answers very quick. Sure, we can all call an underwriter. Sure, we can all call a carrier rep. But to get answers from your peers, real time, who are doing the same thing, maybe in a different location, but same thing in your seat, and they understand. I do caution folks that when they ask their questions, you have to understand that there's lots of differences based on geography. You talk about New York, regional carriers, right? Well, in some places of the country, the national carriers thrive, So, and sometimes it's a single state carrier. So, wherever you're at, just keep in mind it can be completely different from the same person, same size, same other factors, but in a different part of the country because it's just that
even
unique.
from company to company, even from company to company, Dave. I mean,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know what say travelers will write for us in New York might be completely different in another state.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I mean, New York has something very, very unique in the commercial insurance world called labor law.
Mm-hmm.
The great majority of agents have not got a clue about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't
And then
comment on labor law myself. I'm not
right,
familiar with it.
right, and it's something that is a plague to the construction world. But it's safe to say if the policy is not written properly for the state of New York, you probably don't have coverage in a lot of situations when it comes to subs and building projects.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
You know,
Well, Greg,
but that
this
was
year, I want to thank you for your time today. This year, IAOA's annual conference is in October, first weekend in Chicago. Innovation 23 is the name. We have 19. The difference about innovation, well, number one, it's just we're not open to the industry. We only invite IAOA members. So these are independent agency owners and principals. And the same thing with who speaks on stage. They are all IAOA members as well. So every presentation is peer-to-peer. I ask every year, take a survey, would you like a motivational speaker? I can get a carrier CEO if you like, talk about the state of the industry, and like resoundingly, no, we love the format. I can take home ideas that I just learned on Friday or Saturday, and on Monday I can begin to implement and make my agency better and more profitable. And that's what I love about it. So we hope to see you in October in Chicago. You've been to how many innovations now?
I'm looking at my badges. I think I've been to 3.
Okay.
I got my badges on the wall over there. It looks
Yep.
like I 3.
Were you in Nashville?
Yeah, I was in
Okay.
Nashville, Tampa, and San Diego.
So the Nashville badge, we started for the first time asking you which ones have you been to, and we printed it at the bottom. So I think
Yep.
that's going to happen again this year in Chicago. So somebody will actually know which conferences. Oh yeah, I remember talking to you in San Diego, or Vegas, and um, uh, this will be our 9th annual year. So next year will be our 10th anniversary. I can't tell you where yet, but we'll also sometime between now and then surpass the 10,000 member mark. So 2024 is our year of tens. So we've come a long way, baby, as they say. But
Yeah.
you've been one of the real catalysts for that. We appreciate your involvement and your willingness to help, especially the younger folks who, they have more questions than we have today. More questions and maybe different questions, because
Yeah.
they have different perspectives. And that's all good. Listen, I tell everybody, we all had day one in this business. We all did. So don't apologize, for where you're at. We're happy you're here. We're happy you're carrying the torch and taking it on to the next level because we need new generations. There are folks in our industry who think we're losing traction. The younger folks aren't attracted to this industry anymore. But that's not
But our
necessarily.
market share is growing.
I know.
Our market
So
is growing. So
yeah. If you look the right places, you're going to find that that's not the case.
Right.
Our industry is alive and well, not going anywhere for a long time. Humans are not going anywhere. So we're poised for big success, especially in a hard market, I think. So anyway, kudos to you for helping out your fellow agents. You've been a real blessing to help those who've asked for it. And thanks for answering those calls when folks get a hold of you individually because they know probably have an answer for them. I appreciate you.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's been fun to be in the group. It's been fun to be on the podcast today or Collabcast today.
Collabcast.
And I thank you for inviting me.
Appreciate it. We've had Greg Hogan on today. Thanks again, Greg. We will see you, if not beforehand, in October in Chicago. Have a good day, everybody. Take care. Captain Dave signing out.
Thank you for listening to Collabcast with IAOA with Captain Dave Jackson. Production and distribution by Podsquad.fm, Riverside.fm, and Spotify for podcasters. Special thanks to Little Dog Social Media, Terry Champion, and all our guests and listeners. If you're an independent insurance agency owner, please subscribe to our podcast weekly. You can also request to join our agency owner exclusive Facebook group, IAOA, or Insurance Agency Owners Alliance at IAOA.com. Captain Dave Jackson signs out from sunny Hendersonville, Tennessee.